When I was 21 years old, I embarked on a long-awaited vacation to Washington, a place I had dreamt of visiting since I was a kid. Excitement buzzed within me as I planned to explore the vibrant city of Seattle, and then immerse myself in the beauty of nature by camping in the vast forest and woods that Washington had to offer. As the trip approached, I meticulously researched the best spots to visit and camp. Eager to make the most of this adventure, I had been camping a few times before, but never on my own, so this trip was both thrilling and a bit nerve-wracking. Finally, the day arrived, and I boarded a plane to my dream destination. The flight was uneventful, and my heart leaped with joy as the plane descended, and I caught my first glimpse of the lush greenery below. After arriving in Seattle, I spent a couple of days exploring the city's famous landmarks and immersing myself in its unique culture. The city's vibrant atmosphere and friendly locals made me feel welcome, and I quickly fell in love with the place. Once I had my fill of city life, it was time to venture into the wilderness. I rented some camping gear from a local shop and found a small trailer with camping grounds not too far from Seattle. My plan was to camp for just one night and then return to the city to explore more. Early one morning, I set out for the camping site. The drive was picturesque, with stunning landscapes passing by my window. Excitement and a sense of adventure filled the air as I neared my destination. Upon reaching the camping grounds, I found a serene and secluded spot to set up my tent. The area had clear signs of previous campers, like old equipment, rusty cooking pots, and some scattered trash. Despite the remnants of others' visits, I was eager to make this spot my own for the night. As the sun began its descent, I started a campfire, its warm glow dancing in the evening breeze. I had prepared a Ziploc bag full of s'mores ingredients, and I indulged myself with these delightful treats while gazing at the stunning sunset. It was moments like these that made the entire trip worthwhile. However, as the night settled in, I sensed a feeling of being watched. Out of nowhere, a man appeared and sat at the other end of my campfire. Trying to be friendly, I asked if he was camping nearby, but to my surprise, he didn't respond. An awkward silence hung in the air, and my uneasiness grew. After what felt like an eternity, the man suddenly stood up and walked away without uttering a word. His strange behavior left me feeling uncomfortable, but I tried not to let it ruin my camping experience. As darkness enveloped the camping grounds, I decided to call it a night. I extinguished the campfire and retreated into my tent, hoping for a peaceful rest under the stars. However, fate had other plans. In the middle of the night, I was jolted awake by the sound of crackling flames. My heart pounded in my chest as I cautiously unzipped the tent and peered outside. To my horror, I saw 4 men gathered around the rekindled campfire, their eyes fixated on me. One of them was the same man I encountered earlier. Fear overwhelmed me as 2 of the men approached and began patting me down, taking away my phone and wallet. Their intimidating size and demeanor left me feeling defenseless, and I knew it was in my best interest to comply with their demands. The men then dragged me further into the woods, and a sense of dread washed over me. I felt like a helpless pawn in a dangerous game, and I could only hope that I would somehow make it out of this alive. Finally, they pushed me to the ground and struck my head, causing me to lose consciousness briefly. When I came to, the men had disappeared into the dark woods, leaving me disoriented and in pain. Fear and adrenaline propelled me to my feet, and I began running in the direction I hoped would lead me back to safety. With each step, I stumbled over fallen logs and tree roots, disoriented in the pitch-black night. Despite my fear and exhaustion, I pushed myself to keep moving, knowing that staying put would only increase my vulnerability. Hours seemed to pass as I continued my desperate journey through the woods. Just when I thought I couldn't go on, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. I spotted a distant light moving around like a guiding star. My heart raced as I called out for help, and to my immense relief, the light turned towards me. As I approached, I saw the figure of a man shining the flashlight in my direction. 3 other figures appeared behind him, and for a moment, I felt a rush of fear. However, as I drew closer, the man's concerned expression put me at ease. They were fellow campers who had heard my cries and come to my rescue. They immediately called for help, and before long, the police arrived at the scene. I recounted the horrifying events to the officers, providing as much detail as I could remember. Although the men who attacked me were not apprehended, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for those campers who intervened and helped me find my way back to safety. Despite the trauma of that night, I remained determined not to let it overshadow my passion for travel and adventure. While I learned some harsh lessons about the importance of personal safety during solo trips, I refused to let fear dictate my life. When I turned 25, I found myself living alone for the first time in my life. The newfound independence sparked a desire within me to explore and try things I had never done before. One aspiration that had lingered in my mind for years was going on a long solo hike. It might seem a bit unusual, but there was something about the challenge and accomplishment of hiking alone that intrigued me. With no prior experience in outdoorsy activities, I knew this would be a significant undertaking. But I was eager to embrace the adventure. After some research, I settled on a promising trail that was estimated to take about 8 hours to complete. I meticulously packed my backpack with enough water, snacks, and supplies to ensure a smooth journey. Early one Monday morning, I set off on my solo hike. The weather was overcast, and raindrops occasionally splattered on the ground, making the air feel refreshingly cool. The trail began with a narrow path through a dense forest, which only added to the allure of the journey. My excitement grew with each step as I immersed myself in the natural beauty that surrounded me. The trail was well marked and clearly defined, guiding me along the path. I enjoyed the solitude and the sense of self-reliance that enveloped me. Hours passed, and my initial enthusiasm remained intact. The forest seemed to hold countless secrets, and I was determined to uncover them all. As time went on, however, I noticed my energy waning. The hike's length and the uneven terrain began to take a toll on my legs. Still, I pushed forward, determined to reach the end point. But as I approached the 6-hour mark, I had a sinking feeling that something was amiss. I checked my watch, and the realization hit me. I was nowhere near the expected halfway point. Worried and puzzled, I rechecked my map and directions. According to my calculations, I should have already reached the trail's end. Panic set in, but I tried to convince myself that it was merely a miscalculation or that I had misread the information. Nonetheless, I knew I had to turn back soon if I wanted to make it out of the forest before nightfall. Reluctantly, I started to retrace my steps. With each passing minute, my heart sank further. The forest, which had initially felt enchanting, now seemed a bit eerie as the light gradually dimmed. My mind began to play tricks on me, conjuring up phantom sounds and shadows in the trees. As I walked, I noticed something strange, a line of footprints crossing the path at an odd angle. I couldn't remember seeing them before, which added to my unease. My imagination ran wild, coming up with all sorts of scenarios that could explain the mysterious footprints. Despite my growing anxiety, I kept walking, determined to find my way back. But the forest appeared different in the fading light, and I began to question my sense of direction. Doubt and fear gnawed at me as the minutes turned into hours. By the 9th hour of being in the forest, I was exhausted and desperate to escape its grasp. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions, and every sound sent shivers down my spine. The realization that I might be lost in the dark forest paralyzed me with fear. Suddenly, I heard footsteps ahead. My heart pounded in my chest, and I froze in place. The footsteps grew louder, and I saw a faint outline of a figure walking through the dark. My anxiety reached its peak as I tried to decide whether to call out or hide. Finally, I mustered the courage to speak. "Hello." The forest echoed with my voice, but there was no response. I strained to see the person in the distance, but the darkness obscured any clear view. My instincts told me to retreat, so I took a few steps back, but kept my phone flashlight on for safety. The person continued to walk, and as they drew closer, I saw the faint fog of their breath in the chilly night air. They were about 10 feet away from me, concealed by the thick trees. My heart raced as I tried to make sense of the situation. Why were they hiding? What were their intentions? I decided to slowly walk away, trying not to draw attention to myself. My senses were on high alert, and every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs heightened my anxiety. I kept my phone light on, casting a faint glow on the path ahead, and hoped that I was heading in the right direction. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I stumbled upon the correct trail. Relief washed over me, and I couldn't help but let out a sigh of gratitude. Though I was still deep in the forest, knowing that I was on the right track brought a sense of hope. The journey back was filled with a mix of exhaustion, trepidation, and determination. Every step felt like a small victory, bringing me closer to safety. My phone battery was running low, but I managed to keep it on, guiding my way through the darkness. At long last, I emerged from the forest, greeted by the faint glow of city lights in the distance. Tears of relief welled up in my eyes as I realized I had made it out of the haunting forest. The experience had been more challenging and unnerving than I ever anticipated. Over the following weeks, I couldn't shake the lingering fear and unease. My solo hike had turned into a harrowing ordeal, teaching me valuable lessons about preparedness, safety, and trusting my instincts. I vowed to take hiking more seriously, always checking and double-checking my roads, packing essentials like a flashlight, and ensuring I had reliable navigation tools. Moreover, the unnerving encounter with the mysterious figure left me with a lingering sense of uncertainty. When I later learned of 2 bodies found in the same forest, my heart sank. I couldn't help but wonder if I had come dangerously close to danger that night. The experience changed me profoundly, reminding me of the importance of caution, preparedness, and respecting nature's unpredictability. While my dream of a solo hike had been fraught with fear and uncertainty, it also served as a powerful wake-up call, prompting me to be more responsible and informed when venturing into the great outdoors. As an aspiring photographer, I had always dreamed of exploring the scenic beauty of Washington state. So, when I turned 21 and had the chance to go on a road trip, I didn't hesitate to plan a solo adventure. Besides, I had a job interview in the area, so it seemed like the perfect opportunity to mix business with pleasure. The journey started off well, with clear skies and excitement in my heart. I stayed in Seattle for a couple of days after the interview, making the most of the city's vibrant atmosphere. However, it was the wilderness of Washington that truly beckoned me, so I decided to head out for a camping expedition before beginning my journey back home. I rented camping gear from a local shop and found a small, secluded camping ground amidst the vast forest. The weather forecast had predicted some rain, but I didn't mind as I considered it a part of the adventure. I set up my tent, feeling a sense of self-reliance and excitement to immerse myself in nature. After getting settled, I went on a hike through the forest, capturing the beauty of towering trees, tranquil streams, and lush greenery with my camera. The tranquility of the surroundings was therapeutic, and I felt more connected to nature than ever before. As the sun began to set, I returned to my campsite and started a cozy campfire. The sound of crackling wood, the scent of burning firewood, and the warmth it provided were comforting. I had prepared s'mores ingredients in advance, and roasting marshmallows over the flames added to the delight of the evening. However, as darkness crept in, the rain started pouring down. It wasn't the relaxing drizzle I had anticipated. Instead, it was a heavy downpour. The sound of raindrops on the tent and the scent of damp earth created a different ambience, but I didn't let it dampen my spirits. With my tent zipped up, I lay down on my sleeping bag, feeling grateful for this unique experience. As I gazed up at the canvas of stars through the rain-soaked tent, I couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder and gratitude. The sound of rain on the tent was oddly soothing, and I eventually drifted off to sleep. Sometime in the middle of the night, I was awoken by a faint sound. The rain was still falling relentlessly, making it hard to hear clearly. I peered out of the tent, expecting to see an animal or maybe a fellow camper nearby. However, to my surprise, I saw no one around. The sound persisted, and I strained my ears to listen carefully. It was a distant voice, barely audible through the rain. "Help me, I'm being raped." My heart skipped a beat, and adrenaline surged through my veins. The urgency in the voice was unmistakable, but it was challenging to pinpoint its origin in the darkness and pouring rain. Fear and concern gripped me, and I felt compelled to help. I quickly scrambled out of my tent, wearing only a hoodie and shorts, and tried to follow the direction of the voice. The rain blurred my vision, and I stumbled over uneven terrain, trying to reach the distressed individual. As I moved deeper into the forest, the cries for help seemed to grow fainter. Panic set in, and I realized I might be risking my own safety. I attempted to call emergency services, but my phone had no signal due to the remote location and heavy rain. Feeling helpless and scared, I decided to retrace my steps and return to my campsite to gather my thoughts. The rain showed no sign of stopping, and I knew that wandering aimlessly in the forest wouldn't be safe. I needed to come up with a plan. Back at the campsite, I tried to think rationally despite the adrenaline coursing through my body. I knew I couldn't rely on my phone for help, so I decided to head back to the main road where I might find some assistance. With my heart pounding, I grabbed a few essentials, secured my tent, and began navigating my way through the rain-soaked forest. The journey back to the main road felt endless, and I constantly checked my surroundings for any signs of other campers or vehicles. The rain was unyielding, and my hoodie offered little protection from the chill that was slowly seeping into my bones. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I saw the faint glow of headlights in the distance. My heart leaped with hope, and I hastened my pace towards the road. As I got closer, I waved frantically to signal for help. The car slowed down, and a couple inside rolled down their window to see what was happening. Breathlessly, I explained the distressing situation I had encountered in the forest. They were kind enough to offer me a ride back to civilization, where I could find a place with better cell reception to contact the authorities. During the car ride, I shared my experience, and they empathized with my fear and concern. They dropped me off at a nearby town, where I finally had signal on my phone. I immediately called emergency services and reported what I had heard in the forest. The authorities assured me that they would investigate the matter and thanked me for reporting it. Despite feeling drained and shaken, I felt relieved that I had taken the initiative to act on my instincts and try to help someone in distress. As I waited for the authorities to arrive, the kind couple offered me shelter and hot tea in a nearby cafe. They expressed their admiration for my bravery, but I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Part of me wished I could have done more, while the other part was grateful for my own safety. Eventually, the police arrived, and I shared all the information I had. They assured me that they would conduct a thorough search of the area and investigate the incident. Grateful for their prompt response, I decided to find accommodation for the night and process everything that had transpired. The following day, I provided a formal statement to the police, and they assured me that they would keep me updated on the investigation. Although I felt an overwhelming sense of relief for having returned to safety, I couldn't shake the lingering concern for the person who had cried out for help in the darkness. Throughout the remainder of my trip, I kept a vigilant eye on the news, hoping to hear any updates about the incident. However, nothing was reported, leaving me with unanswered questions. Nevertheless, I returned home with a newfound appreciation for the importance of vigilance and listening to one's instincts in unfamiliar situations. That night in the forest had been a test of courage and quick thinking. It reminded me of the unpredictable nature of life and the responsibility we all share to help one another in times of distress. Though the rain may have masked the cries for help, it also brought to light the strength and resilience that reside within us when